I want to thank everybody for joining me today. All the new people that are aboard in our group. Thank you for joining us. I hope that you'll like what I've got going on here. We try to make things a little bit different here. I tend to paint on anything, guys. If you guys don't know me, my name is Amanda Cision, but friends call me Mandy. And my mother's called me that all my life. And the only time she called me Amanda was if she was really mad at me, and then I got the full formal Amanda Lee sometimes. But yeah, thank you for joining me today. I got lots to share with you today. I'm so excited. We have some glasses behind me here. If you guys see, I've already done a set of 4. And I want to show you how I did it. And we're going to do it on this little ice bucket today. And but first I want to share a few things with you and give you guys a little bit more time to pop on and find me and see who's going to join me today. Hi, Cindy. Thanks for joining me today. Are you ready to do some glass painting with me today? Seems to be the theme of the month they're going on. We already did a glass vase with some roses on them. My class is already available on my site. You guys want to get into some roses on some glass painting? We already played around with different frost paints on that. Those colors actually come already pre-made. But what I want to play with you guys today is a frost medium that you can actually mix with any color of the folk art series, depending on what you have available. Which is best to use is either the multi-surface or the enamel series that Folk Art Plaid makes, is all the products that I use. And of course the Donna Dewberry brushes. So I've got some different brushes here. I'm going to show you different styles of brushes, what's recommended, and how to mix these colors with your frost. And because I've been getting a lot of questions on them still. People are still not sure exactly how much color to put into the frost. And yeah, so I've got a quick idea here for you guys to do some fun, festive glassware that you can use and decorate them up in whatever colors you like. And yeah, it's pretty easy. And I'll show you how I'm going to lay it all out. I gave you guys a little bit of a sneak peek there earlier to see what the finished results in the picture there. So hopefully you guys saw that picture a little bit close up. And thank you. Hi, Belva. Hi, Dorothy. Hi, Leanne. You guys are watching and learning today. Awesome. I'm so excited. I wanted to show you guys this frost medium. All right, it's made from the enamel series, folk art. And then we also have some flow mediums and some clear mediums that can also thin down your paint or help stretch it out or make it more translucent too. But the frost does give you a little bit different effect than if you were just to water it down translucent look with your paint, right? You'll get that kind of look even though, but like I said, the frost medium does give it a really nice effect. And you can pop any color you want, guys, in here. And I was trying to go with that white, snowy, frosty look that, you know, because we're going to be doing a nice bucket. And, of course, you know, we're putting ice in our drinks. And so we wanted that white, frosty look, which has been a challenge for a lot of people to actually play with white. Sometimes white, simple color, can be a little bit challenging, too, getting it on even and with the right consistency. So I got a few tricks up my sleeve. Hopefully, it'll help you with your glassware. And then, of course, different brushes and different items. You know, you can stencil through different stencils with different pouncing brushes and scruffies, right? So the glass ones are just really soft, all right? So if you don't have the glass series brushes, most of them are all with a white bristle to them. And then we have orange Teflon bristles, and then more different tones of brown in our different bristles. Like this one's more like from the fabric set, okay, so it's going to be a lot stiffer. And same with our Teflon brushes, okay, they have a very strong snapback, which we need in a lot of our paintings. And this is our all-purpose brush that we'll use for all kinds of paintings, whether you want to do fabric or glass. But when you get the fabric glasses or the bristles that are with the white fabric, they are definitely a lot more softer, and will allow you to lay that paint on the glass item a lot easier, okay? Because the glasses are very, very slippery. And if you need to practice for glass, definitely pull out some plastic sheets, little protector sheets that you have for your packs, and practice on those as opposed to the cardstock, because that'll give you a little better feel of what it really feels like to paint on glass, because you can slip off really, really easy. And with the soft white bristle brushes, it'll allow you to paint on them very, very easy. Okay, so I really highly do suggest that you get the proper brushes for them. And then Donna also has these little rubber nibby chisels, and you can use them for painting or whatever you like. And they also come really handy with glassware as well. If you want to erase, maybe your line's not so straight, you need a little extra help to clean things up. This little rubber nibby is nice and soft, so it won't scratch your glass. And you'll be able to play around with that as well if you really need it. And like I said, you can make different effects with it as well if you want to use it on the chisel, and even paint with them if you want. So they're a lot of fun that you can use as well. I don't usually use them too often. A lot of times I just dampen my brush, and then I'm able to erase something that I don't want very easily with a clean damp brush as well. So just some options here for you guys to consider when you're playing around with glassware. And then, of course, it's really recommended to wipe down your items with rubbing alcohol. This is just 70%. You can get 90%. It really doesn't matter as long as it's rubbing alcohol. And give it that really good clean, so then that way if there's any oils or residues of soap, or maybe you have hand cream on your hands, so it's really highly suggested to go make sure you wash your hands, or even use the alcohol on your hands to make sure all your oils are off. Or even wear gloves, guys, if you really want to keep your hands clean. But if you guys know me, I'm not afraid to get paint on my hands. Alrighty, and then also what I have here is a fun set of dotting tools. There's a variety of different kits out there that you can get depending on how tiny. There's a lot of really fun mandala styles that you can play around with. And so there's some bigger balls on the other side that you could use to dip in your paint and create all the little dots that we're going to do on our design today as well. But again, I'm just, I'm a one-man band person kind of thing, I guess. I like to utilize what I have. So, if you want, you can just use the back of your brush to create all these little dots. And if you notice, all your brushes are a little bit different size. So if you want to create big dots, to use a bigger brush. And like I said, that's what I usually just use for my standard dots. And then I've got some tricks again that I can show you about how to make your dots a little bit smaller or bigger just by playing with your paint a little bit. Alrighty, so yeah, I'm trying to go through this a little bit quick for you guys, so hopefully if I'm too quick you'll catch the replay, and you can stop me and start me then, and paint with me the second time if you want with a replay. Like I said, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to pop a question down in the chat, depending on what platform you will be on, because yes, I do put these on YouTube after as well, and I would love to you guys join me and subscribe on my YouTube as well. And thank you guys for joining me today. I'll show you how I laid this out. Okay, so this particular little glassware here I forgot to take the sticker off, and which is kind of good in a way, because then I can show you, and hopefully you're not using your nails because they're jewels, not tools. And I'm gonna just quickly pull this sticker off here. Try to get it started. Okay, some of them are really, really tough and leave a lot of sticky glue residue on them. Right, so the alcohol will also help to get that off as well. And then it's also recommended to bake your glassware with your enamel paints or your multi-surface so that it really helps cure that paint right on. So if you just leave it for a good 3 weeks, it'll also, you know, cure for you eventually as well, just with time, guys. So you definitely make sure that you give it that time. If you're a little bit leery of some of your glassware might crack or shatter, you know, and you're a little bit scared of putting it in the oven, then just make sure that you leave it a good 3 weeks. And then especially with items like this, because it has a plastic handle, like this one does pop off. Okay, so you could take this off before you put it in the oven, otherwise it'll melt on you. All right, but this is a good strong glass ware, so I would, you know, feel like it would be fine, no problem to put in your oven, and only for half an hour, and then you're going to shut it off and let it cool off on its own. And because it's really, really hot, and you don't want to hit it in any way that it might break on you, right? So they'll be very, very sensitive at that temperature to clanging together. So definitely leave them in there. And so I'm just giving this a really quick wipe here, because just to give it a freshen up and get that sticker residue off. All right, and then it's best to just let it dry, and the alcohol will actually just evaporate. And you hear that squeak? I don't know, but that tells you that it's really super clean. All right, but the thing about doing this ribbon design is I'm going to end up touching this. So what we're going to do is we'll give it a little freshen up again just before we start painting on it. All right. And then what we also need is some masking tape. Okay. So what I usually do, guys, is just get the general measurement of your tape that you need. Okay. So I'm going to just go around my a glass item really quickly, and then just cut it so that I know that it's going to wrap around. All right. Because it's most likely the first time you do it, it's not going to be straight, but you just generally need the length that you need to go all the way around. And then what I do to line it up, guys, you can use a ruler and mark it somehow with, you know, maybe a little bit of a erasable marker if you really want to find a line to do it. But what I do is I just grab it in half and I kind of line it up where I want it to go. Oops. And I started off with the top part first, guys, and this has a bit of a lip on it, so these little handles, so it's going to be a little bit more trickier than my glassware that I was doing for sure, because it's got to go all the way around this, right? And I'm going to do a little cut here to make it work. All right, and then we're going to find where it joins in the front. Oh, I didn't make it long enough. I'll have to add to it. These little... I'll save this one for the bottom piece, because that's where I measured it. Oops. Okay, we'll just tuck that right there so then it doesn't get all wrecked. Alright? And then this time I'm going to go around the top part so I measure properly. All right, something gets a little tricky, right, when you want to get creative. We'll give that just a little bit more length. All right, so now it's going to fit all the way around with those little nibby handles. All right, so grab it again, and we're going to just line it up. So it's about 1 inch below, all right? And then I'm going to follow it around the front. And try to line this up about 1 inch down all the way around. Try to keep that as straight as you can. And then hopefully this one will line up right straight with you. And that's how you're going to know you're straight is by how these kind of line up over each other. If you need to move it a little bit down. Right, so now these guys are lining up really nice and straight with each other. So that way I kind of know that I'm in the same spot on both sides. Alright. Then I'm going to just snip a little bit on each side and push this down. Okay. And then I'm going to have to add another little piece of tape to straighten that out a little bit underneath. Okay, so it does take a little bit of playing around to get these borders. Alright. A little bit tricky sometimes. But again, with all those little dots that I put around the edge, that's also going to help give you a little bit of extra cheating stuff that you could use to add dots around the edge to make sure that it's all nice and neat. Alright, so we do have to piece a little bit more work to this guy. Alright, I'm just going to cut this big piece in half. And then we're going to try and line it up straight. You just tuck it a little bit, fold it a little bit, and taper up. Try to line her up straight. And then we'll tuck the other piece under here. I really didn't want to go too low with my border. I want to keep it up a little bit higher. Okay, and then there we go. So now this one should be a little bit easier to line up. And then I'm just going to fold all these little pieces down out of my way. I'll fold this upside down now. And then we're going to figure out how much of a border do we want to put. Okay, so I'm going to put it a little bit lower. And then if you hold your tape at the top, guys, because it's a little bit on an angle, right? Hold it at the top so that your tape is kind of straight flat down. You should be able to line it up. Okay, line up your two edges again. Okay, take a look at it, see if you're pretty straight. Like I said, the dots make it really forgiving, guys. I'm just going to pull on it a little bit. And I just do it by eye. A little bit too high. And then once you're happy with that, you're going to go right around all your edges really good and push down on it, guys. Right? Make sure that no paint is going to pop up underneath your tape. So just give it a quick rub. Make sure that everything is all nice and smooth all around the edge here, right? So like I say, you can't help but touch it, right, when you're trying to get it all taped up. Right, so now I'm going to just grab some fresh alcohol and just give it a nice little rub on that area again, just to freshen it up, make sure all my fingerprints are off of there. Right? I know I'm a little bit whack sometimes. How you guys doing? You still following with me? Hello, Deborah. How's it going? Thank you guys for joining me today. I'm so excited. Yes, I just got the news from Donna. I got an email. I haven't got the official certificate in the mail yet, but yes, I am now a certifying elite. I'm so excited. and can help you with getting your level 1 now. You guys are interested in learning more about skill builders, stuff like that. I do have the whole intro program for all the beginners or anybody that just wants to perfect your strokes already. So if you guys do want to learn more, then definitely it's all available on my site. You can do it on your own time, and then it also comes with a free half-hour private Zoom too to cover any of the questions you might have. So I'm still there for you. Okay, so the nice thing about the tape is it gives you areas that you can hold on to now. So with this frost medium, I did give you guys another little heads up on a lot of information about the glass painting, so I don't want to repeat too much. Hopefully you guys will go and jump on that other video if you want to have a little bit more information about these mediums and the slow medium and the clear medium. All right, I'm going to quickly show you guys about them as well. All right, so with the frost medium, okay, there is instructions on the back that usually tell you a little bit, right? But a lot of people are like, well, I don't know how much to put in there. So really it depends on, it's mostly just about the baking. All right, so it's like 2 to 1. Like you definitely want more frost medium than you want paint. So some people might think it's the other way around, right? So I am going to put a little bit more there because we do need quite a bit to get around this ice bucket. And then with the paint, guys, right, it's like the less paint color that you put in there, the more translucent it's going to be with color. All right, so really all you need is like a tiny little pea compared to like a big dollar size round. All right, you really don't need a lot of color. Okay, so even less than that maybe. And what I like to do when I'm doing a technique like this on glass is I will pre-mix it. Okay, so the white is a little bit harder to see with the medium than a color. So it may be deceiving on how well it's mixed up. All right, so just make sure that you spend a little extra time. You can almost see the marbly of the 2 different colors going on. But just really make sure that you mix it really well, guys. And get that frost medium in the color. So the color is just a little bit of pigment to give you your tone. Right? It's the frost. And I do believe, like I did try it all by itself, just to see if it did leave any color, and it really didn't give me enough. Like it was just like a smudge look. So you really do gotta put like the tiniest amount of pigment in with it, and then it'll give you that nice frosty look. So you see how much time I'm spending, guys? I'm really spending extra time because I really want to make sure that this white and the frost medium is mixed together well. Okay. And then you can use anything really. I like a softer look for my glassware, so definitely these little sponge daubers work really, really nicely too. You just gotta worry about your edges. Sometimes too, when you're working your way around, that edge might leave a little bit of an edge on you, but you know, depending on how you work it in and really sponge it on. You can also use Donna Dewberry sponges as well, which are nice too. And what I like about these is, yes, you might get your fingers full of paint, where this is nice. You don't have to be afraid of touching the paint. But what I like about this is you can really hold that brush and squish it a little bit back a little bit so that you're using more of the center of the sponge as opposed to the edges, and you're going to get a nicer, softer look. So it's really important to be able to squish that brush back or sponge back so that you're able to get that little softer. So you can use the bigger one or the smaller one depending on what you want, how much coverage you want to do quickly. And I do like using the bigger one because then it gives me a little bit bigger of a round. Okay, so it's a dry sponge. There's no moisture. It's really, really dry. It's been sitting out all night. So I know that it's not have any water in it at all. All right, guys. So we'll push that over. You can see it over in the corner of my little plate. All right, so we're going to start off by loading our sponge really well. And then I come back and I start tapping it in, and I really push on my sponge, guys, to get that paint inside the sponge. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to slowly work your way all the way around the glass in a consistent kind of way, right? So remember to pull back on your sponge to get that round, right? And then you're just going to softly start pouncing and moving over and trying to stay up and down on your sponge very consistently. Okay, and then keep working your way around, slowly backing out of your area that you've done. Okay, if you're left-handed, then you might want to work in the other direction. Okay, and some of it I use a little bit on the dry side of my sponge. If I want to soften it a little bit, I'll move up a little bit to kind of smooth that color. Okay, and try not to go over that area too many times that you're leaving too much paint, right? Because if your paint isn't dry yet, and then you start going over it and over and over and over again, you'll start to pick up that paint. Okay, so the trick is really layering it slowly and softly and a little bit at a time, layer by layer. Doesn't take long to dry when you do it this really soft. Sorry guys, it's a little bit hard for me to show you a bit on the angle here without touching the sides on my table now. Okay, and you're just going to softly put that color in there. And it's really deceiving because you think that it's not showing until you take the tape off. Okay, and then again, if you wanted a little bit heavier coverage in any area, then you go over it a second time, and then that'll help give you a little deeper coverage, depending on how translucent you want this to be. This is giving me a little bit of a workout. I've already had my workout in the garden there this weekend, so I'm feeling it in my arms today. All right, so slowly working our way around to give it that nice soft effect. And keep slowly adding a bit more paint in your sponge. Okay, you're putting it down, move up into the middle of your sponge to kind of smooth it out. And so if you want a little heavier coverage, you could put more paint in with your frost if you really want to. Okay, and then we're going to work our way around and around. And then we should be up at the beginning now. So again, you want to work your way a little bit down and out and trying not to overlap where you started. Okay, so because it'll get extra white there if you do. Okay. Over here should be almost dry, but sometimes it's not. It's deceiving because it almost feels dry. But you might wipe off some of that color if you're not careful. And if you keep going over certain areas, you may start pulling that color off. Right? So you just got to have a really light touch to it. Okay? And making sure that you have enough paint. And then what I like to do too sometimes on a bigger band is I'll come up a little bit heavier all around the edge. Alright, so I'm just doing that really light, consistent pounce, slowly all the way around the top of that rim. This is really super thin, so it should be drying fairly quick for you. Okay, I'm going to move down a little bit to give it a little bit of a gradient. And then you can flip it over and then do that along the bottom side. So if you have a big ribbon, like my glassware, I didn't do this on because I did a smaller ribbon on them. But I thought, oh, just to give it a little stronger edge on this one, we'll just add a little second layer just along the tape line. Again, sometimes you know, you have a spot that you don't like or whatever, just remember you can always put a flower on top of that as well. So trying to keep it a little bit translucent so that we can see the ice cubes in there as well. All right. How's that? Have you ever tried etchol? No, I haven't played with it. It's an extra chemical. It's another thing that I'd have to go and buy, and sometimes I don't do enough glassware to invest in a product like that. I know it is definitely more durable. If you do a lot of glassware and you love that look, then definitely I would, you know, would consider on getting it because I have seen the effect is really nice. But this is a painted version of that, you know, that is, like I said, it is a chemical that you put on, and if I believe right, Shannon, I think you have worked with that before, so if people are really interested in that chemical type style etching for the frost, then yeah, feel free to reach out to Shannon. She's got lots of fun molding, like a modeling paste that she has, my paste, she calls it. And we play with that as well in some of our projects as well. Really nice product. Which goes on fabric too, which is wonderful. So yeah, hit chat it up if you have more questions about her paste. And or etchol. But like I said, this is the plaid frost medium that you can put with any color, guys. And that's the nice thing about, I don't believe etchol comes in different colors. If you want it just white, then perfect. But you can see that we do get that frosted look with any color, right? So that's the perks of doing it with the frost paints, is that we can have lots of pretty colors. Okay, so I'm just trying to give this a little bit of time here to set for a second before I start putting my flowers on there. She makes small bottles, non-toxic. Okay, good to know, Shannon. Thanks for joining us today. I haven't seen you in a while. We have to get your paste out again. It's very soon. Come up with another project. So yeah, the enamels come with most of the colors that we know in multi-surface. There's a few that are a little bit different. They do have a soft apple and yellow citron that's not available in multi-surface. But if you don't have a color in the enamels, and you can you know, use both of them together if you really wanted to. And but they have most of our favorites. They have a thicket and lime green, engine red. They actually have a lipstick red, which is a little bit brighter, and of course our favorite magenta. And what I used on the glasses, guys, was Caroline. I'm probably butchering that name. Blue. It's like a peacock style blue. And then Calypso Sky is very similar to our Aqua in the multi-surface. So definitely that's what I used on my glasses. I got to do the same, so that's a nice matching set. And then a little bit of wicker white if you want to lighten things up a little bit. All right. So let's see. We'll do a little test here. How's this feeling? Not too bad. You can kind of feel it cold and clammy. It's a little bit damp still. but we can definitely start pulling off some of this tape. Okay, so when you're pulling tape off, don't know if you've ever done this before or not, but there is a bit of a trick to it. Sometimes you will pull your paint off if it's really, really thick paint, but this is pretty thin paint, so it should be okay. But the trick is to try to pull it away from the line. You're going to pull it up as opposed to straight out or pulling down. Okay, so you always want to pull your tape away from your paint. Get rid of that. Okay. I can concentrate on what I'm doing here. Okay, so again, just gently pulling up and away. I've done a lot of painting in my time, so around windowsills and stuff like that, and I learned the hard way by pulling the tape off the wrong direction and pulling big chunks of paint away. Alright, so just gently pull it all up. Okay, and then the same thing with the bottom. Try to find an edge here. And then again, pull down, then pull away from the paint. And you'll get a nice clean line every time. As long as you push down on that paint tape really well, make sure that there's no paint getting underneath there. Alright, so what do you think of my little frost border? I did go over it a little extra there. Alright, but it's okay because we're going to be doing lots of flowers out here. Right. What do you guys think? Oh, this is your first time finding me? Yeah, I just added a few people to the group. You're one of them, aren't you? Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining us, Laura. I'd love to meet you. Hi, Kim. You're late. That's okay. We're just getting into the good stuff. So what we are going to do is pull out our paints. Ooh, probably a little bit too much there. And a little bit of white, just in case we want to lighten that up a little tiny bit. But when you're working on a white border, you don't want to be really having too much white. You know, so you want that flower to stand out a little bit. So that's why I used a little bit of a softer baby blue to go with it. So then that way these flowers would stand out a little bit stronger along the white ribbon. All right. But I'm going to show you guys, you can make like a, what I call a dirty white for you guys that are new. I have all my own little words and ways of explaining things. We have dances for some of our stroke works. And just trying to make things a little bit fun. All right, so we have our glass brushes that we're going to use. Okay, and which one did I use last time? We use our new one here. Donna does have a new Pro set that's available as well with the white for the glasses that are really, really nice as well. And there's also a value set that she has that are black handled that are made from plaid as well. It just depends on what you guys want to use, how big you want to make your flowers. Okay. So anything that's like a size 10 or a size 8 or smaller, sometimes I'll do like a side to side type blending. Sometimes I'll go back and forth. It really depends on the size of brush that I'm doing. So if you're working on something bigger, then you can definitely go back and forth on your blending pile to put two colors in your brush at the same time. And you're putting lots of pressure on there so that you're getting at least 2/3 of your brush filled up all the way up close as you can to that chisel, so that when you're pressing down to do these strokes and wiggles, the paint is loaded where you need it. right? So sometimes I'll actually lay my brush right over on the side so that I'm picking up more up on the side of my brush as opposed to just the corner, so that you're really getting a good amount of paint in there and pushing down on it so that you can get a good little blending pile going on. So sometimes all we need to do is come over and refresh our chisel a little bit, flatten it back out again, pick up a little bit more paint that's already lots here. It'll get away on you. So sometimes I'll even pull my corner of my brush over and put it back where it belongs, right? So you can also add a little bit of white if you want to brighten this up a little bit more baby-like. And then what I do, guys, too, sometimes is I create my own dirty white, right? So you're just going to use your darker color. My white is a little bit thick here. And you're going to start doing your blending, right? But then it's too bright to sit on our nice white ribbon, right? So if you just put like a dot of blue in on your white, you're going to create that soft baby blue just by, even with my dirty white here that's over here that I've touched blue a couple times. And then now you're going to get that soft baby blue. All right, that'll stand up a little bit more along that white border. So you can see that my white is maybe a bit old, and it's definitely a lot thicker paint than our multi-surface. So we do have flow mediums. Ooh, you can see how liquidy that one is. So if you want to actually thin down your paint a little bit, then you're going to use the flow medium. And if you don't want to thin down your paint, but you still want to make it a little bit more translucent, you can see that the clear medium, it'll dry clear, but it is a lot thicker. All right, so my go-to usually is just the flow medium. I like to use the flow medium because a lot of times my paint is a little too thick or a little bit old. Right? But when they're nice and new, you can see that they're nice and consistency is creamy. I did pick up one that I've had open for quite a while. Okay, so sometimes what we can do is even throw a little bit of that flow medium in our paint and pre-mix it a little bit, guys. Okay, so you can see that one's really thick. I'm having one of those fun days today. But it's good because every time things happen like this to me, then I'm showing you guys what you can do. Right? So we're going to just grab a little bit of that flow medium and pre-mix our white paint to the right consistency so that we can pick up that paint the way we want it. Right? So sometimes we do have to play with our paints. Okay, so you don't want it too thin, because if I want it thinner, then I can definitely go and pick up a little bit more floating medium in my brush. Okay. You can see that's a little bit nicer consistency. And then you could also keep adding, you know, that little bit of blue that you're using in your main color and create that blue as well. All right, create your little baby blue. So then it's already pre-mixed and consistent for you, so it'll be the same color throughout. Okay, guys, so just some options if you're limited with colors. I always come up with different varieties for you guys. So what I'm going to do first is to figure out placement of where I'm going to put these things. So we definitely want one here, and then I'm just using the corner of my brush, guys, to put the smallest little dot, and then I'm going to put one here. Okay, so don't want it too raised. Use a little bit of paint. So if you want to split them up evenly, okay, so that's usually the first thing I do is just kind of spread out my little dots. Right, maybe one under each handle. And then now we can split them in half a little bit more. We can maybe put one up a little bit higher. Split it in half, put one just a little bit lower, a little bit higher, and a little bit lower. Try to spread them out a little bit. Okay, so this one's got to be more in the middle. Okay, so I just touch them so that way my paint is flat. Oops, I'm going to cover that anyways. And then it'll dry fast. So that gives us some nice placement to spread it around. Okay, so I just eyeball it, guys. Like I said, if you just put it in 4 and then split your 4 into more, if you want to do smaller flowers or bigger flowers, that's totally up to you. But you got to remember that this is the center of your flower, so however big you're going to make it, right? I went and made my flowers just big enough to fit the whole ribbon. So if you want a little bit more space, downsize on your brush or make your ribbon a little bit bigger. Okay, but I like it. They're going to match together. Right, so when we're going to do our stroke work, we're pushing down on our brush and we're laying it down a little bit more on the side. Okay, so I don't have enough paint. Have to dry out a little bit. We need a little bit of flow medium maybe on the corner of our brush with the light blue because it's doing most of the work. Okay, and then go over it again. You're not happy with it. So usually what is best to do is let it dry and go over it again the second time if you feel like you need another coat. But this is one of the reasons why I really like the frost medium, is because I can get that little bit of tooth in there. And it'll stick to the glass really easy, guys. Okay, so I'll try and put this in a way where I ground myself a little bit. Might have to go over this one again to fix my gradient. You don't want it to be too globby, guys. Right. Of course, I'm sitting weird under the camera here. Not making excuses, guys, but it is a little weird angle here for me. Okay, try to get that gradient up there a little bit. Okay, and then you can start working your way all the way around. And if you're doing all 4 glasses, you could definitely multitask, and by the time you get back to the next glass, you're going to be dry. You need to redo it again. Okay, so we're just doing our kind of fancy teardrop style shell stroke kind of look. Okay, 5-petal flower. And we keep picking up paint and making sure your gradient is about half and half. Okay, you want to make sure. Oops, my fingers are not working today. And keep going. So we start off with our head. Then we have our little arms. Okay, everything's all got a pivot point going right to the center. Okay, so you have 2 on each side, and then that usually leaves you a nice room to put 2 more at the bottom. Okay, pick up my paint properly, Amanda. See, when I'm serious with myself, I'm Amanda. When I want to have fun, I'm Mandy. Even when I get mad at myself, I call myself Amanda. All right, so carry on and do all the way around. And you can add leaves to these guys too. I thought just the flowers would be really nice and simple. And quick design, quick fun design. Sometimes simple is better, right? You don't have to move that a little bit over. Overlap them a little bit so that way they don't look like they're one big circle. Work your way all the way around until you've done all your flowers. You're picking up a lot of blue. There's not a lot of change of color. Like you could add a little bit more white into it. Get a little brighter edge. And I'm probably better to shut up and paint instead of talk and paint. Alright. Just something simple and quick, guys. Like I said, it's like a standard little wiggle wash or a little bit more random wiggle depending on what kind of dance you like to do with your brush. And need some more lighter. And around. You gotta practice all of your strokes in different direction, guys, so you can flip yourself upside down. Right? Unless you want to keep turning your glass item around, you know, you could keep turning things. Some people need to do that in the beginning because you're not used to doing that stroke in different directions. But, the more you practice, guys, the more you push yourself to do it in different directions. If you're painting on a big wall, you can't flip that around. Right? So you can flip things around to make things easy for you. Okay. Make sure you have a little bit of light on that edge so that it stands out. Okay, I'm a little bit off, but that's okay. Very easy just to go over your stroke, go up a little bit higher if you need to. Getting right along the edge there, getting brave. If you can see in my plate, I wasn't picking up my brush properly. Right, I'm going off my blending path. So when you go all the way around, you should be starting to get a little bit drier. But it usually does take a bit of time, guys. If you do feel like you have to go over any strokes to fix them, you can always go over them, make them a little bit more coverage. And so you notice I didn't want to put any floating medium too much in my brush to thin it down because I want really nice strong color. I'm going to quickly go over these one more time. Start at the top, work your way down and under. See, I'm getting a much nicer coverage. Some people like a little more translucent flower. I'm a nut for coverage. Right? I like all the details and, you know, spending the extra time on perfecting things and going over them if I need to. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing here today. I said glass items are a little bit tricky to hold on the side. Have a little pivot point and you just keep working right towards that pivot. call this a closed shell stroke. Okay, so it just depends on your wiggle dance. But I started off on the style with the glasses, so I have to carry that style out. Okay, just rinse it off a little bit if you don't like it. I use my baby finger as a fulcrum so I can pivot somewhere, hold on to something. Braces me. All right. Put more paint in there. You guys get to see me do it twice. So hopefully if you're not seeing a good angle, you're seeing the repetition. I'm doing all the way around the edges. Or that white. Nice smooth strokes. Try and do this quick for you guys. Hopefully you're still hanging on. I'm not checking any comments right now. And there, I think we're almost right around the clock again. Okay, that's looking way better now, guys. Okay, so you can always fill in your little centers here a bit if you want to, if you have a little space. And just dab a little bit of paint to fill that in. If you have too much space, because sometimes you will see that on the inside of your glass, so you might see the centers. Oh, we did forget one. And then I'm going to be adding this class on the site as well in the free classes. And I'll probably make up a little PDF because I did make some step pictures of the glass process and the tape job and stuff like that. So I'll add a little PDF together for you guys and put a little bit more info in there, the colors I used. Just add a little dabby there. Make sure that they're all looking nice. I didn't forget any. Show you guys. Okay. The quick flowers. All right, so what we're going to do while we're letting that set a little bit for our center of our flowers is we're going to play around with dots. Like I said, if you need more help with the 5-petal flowers, we do have lots of practice available. That's course number 5. Has all the shell stroke practice in there. And then if you need more help with teardrop styles, then I have course number 2 that has all in there. So the site member access is a package deal, right? I do have that available as a package deal, but I do have it all separately for people who like to have the downloads. All right, so we do need some white. I could make those dots blue if I wanted to, whatever colors you want, guys. And you can grab a different white. No, that is the thick one. Yeah, this one's better. Right, because you definitely don't want your paint to be too thick when you're doing all your little dots. Right, so we're going to use a small little strip liner brush because it gives us a nice little skinny dot. And show you how I play around with my dots if you've never seen this before. So basically we want to flatten this out a little bit so that we don't have a very thick edge that we're going through. Because it'll go right up the side of your brush if you have your paint in too big of a little pile. And what I do sometimes is I add just that little tiny bit of flow medium, because even if your paint is perfect, to do the dots, to have them a little bit more flatter, you need just that little bit of thinness. And of course we don't want to use water, which we traditionally do use when we're doing other paintings, is fine. But with the glass, you want to make sure that you're using all of the enamel products so that you get maximum adhesion and durability. Okay, so I'm just putting a tiny little bit of fluid in there. Just using the back of my brush to stir that around a bit. Okay, and then I'm going to clean my brush. So all of your brush sizes can make different size dots. So just when you put them down and you keep going, they're going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Right? Just with one load. So depending on where you want your dot, right? I did want them just the basic size of my brush. I did go and use them all at that size. But say you wanted to have that third size down consistently. So you'd come over, pick up your paint and go 1, 2, 3, and then you know that the third one is the size you want. So you come over 1, 2, and you do number 3 over here. Right, so that is a little bit too tiny for the design I want to do, but basically I didn't want to have a lot of paint build up on my brush, so I did put it in a pile, hit it once, and then I just kept going into that little dot here to kind of make sure that it wasn't overloaded. And then again, I'm using my little pinky to have a resting spot so that I can stay consistent. So if you have any spots on your edge that you don't like, start there, because that's a really good spot to stick a dot, and then it'll disguise any roughness on your edge. So I'm just touching the edge, but outside of that little border. And I'm just going by eye, guys. I'm just going about maybe a centimeter away from each other. And I'm just going to go all the way around the edge of my rim. So I did have a lot of people actually ask me where I got this ice bucket. And unfortunately, guys, I got it at a garage sale. Okay, so I can't even say that there's a distributor, but maybe Bed and Bath, or some of those home decor shops might have some nice high-end ones if you want to buy them, or if you have a thrift store around in your neighborhood. You know, you can find lots of different things that you can paint on. Maybe even just a glass cookie jar with the same kind of effect. So sometimes if it's not giving me the size I want, or I have to fix things, I do a double tap just to make it more round. Okay, and then I'm getting close to the end, guys. So I know I have room for 2 more. So the last one might be a little too close, or it might be a little bit too far. It's just the gamble I take. But I actually did pretty good. Right, so as you're getting close to finishing, just know that you might have to tighten up on your dots just a tiny bit more, or spread them out so that they're a little bit even. Okay, and then you're going to come down all around the bottom. Go crazy with your dots again. So I have that pretty flat pile of paint here, so it's not really going up the sides too much. Have my brush. I just kind of keep spinning it and holding it from the inside so that I don't get... Sorry guys, I know you're probably not getting a very good view. And here I actually went too far from my edge here. So again, like I said to you before, you can always just take a clean brush and erase anything that you don't like. Okay, and then fix your dot. Okay, and then be careful you don't scratch anything until it cures, because glass, you know, can scratch, but if you make sure it's really good and cured, it's pretty durable, guys. Like, you could scratch all this paint off if you didn't like it, and before it cures, and redo your design really easy. Just make sure all that dried paint chips don't go down your sink and wreck your plumbing. Do it outside in a warm bucket of warm soapy water. And actually Donna's scrubby pads work really good because they're like really coarse and like brand new, because our kitchen scrubs, when they're brand new, they're strong, but they get old and you throw them out, right? They're disposable. So I had people ask me before how to get the paint off, and the scrubby's not working. Well, maybe your scrubby's old, because the brand new ones, really, I've never had a problem getting paint off. Okay, so now I'm at the end. I gotta make a decision. I'm just gonna spread that out a little bit more. Hopefully I didn't touch anything on the other side. Give it some fun, simple dots. And then we can use the yellow. We have a school bus yellow, or there's a yellow light if it's still available. I think I use the school bus yellow. It's a little bit brighter. Oh, maybe not. I can tell when I put it down. Yeah, I used the yellow light. Okay, and then we're just going to do one little simple dot. And bring that over. This is a little bit runnier consistency, definitely from my white. And just test a couple on the side. And then right in the middle, guys. Okay, so you can see I've still got to lean on something. If I can't put my finger in there, I have to give myself a little bit of somewhere to brace myself so that I control the shakes and get accurate. Alright, so just a fun and quick design, guys, for you. I hope you like it. Right, it's kind of made it a little bit random. And there are some spaces there too. I could probably put some leaves in there, but like I said, I really just like the flower look. And then it'll match my glasses. I did put a little bit extra white in the edges on this one. But yeah, I can always go over it again a little bit if I want to and add a little bit more white. Alrighty, guys. What do you think? Oh, you like that? Yeah, it's got, this is actually a little plastic doohickey that goes on here. So you can hold on to it. I just pulled that off so that it was going to be out of my way. And then it comes with the cutest little ice tongs. Grab your ice with. Nice and fun party piece. But I'm going to leave that plastic piece off because I'm afraid it's going to hit something and scratch it before it cures. Alright. have fun. I hope you guys are having fun. You love the concept, Cecilia? Thank you. If you have any more questions about the paint, the glass painting, definitely feel free to drop them down in the comments. And check out the links that'll take you to my site and boo around, and you'll see all the different resources that I have in that site member access for you guys. And I'd be so happy to have you guys join us. Okay, in the events calendar. All right, guys, have a fabulous painting day, and we'll see you next time.